Protection Project Committee. Just to confirm again that the meeting will conclude by 1 p.m. if not before. I have received an apology from Councillor Hodge. Are there any other apologies for today?
No, Chair, from me.
Thank you. Do we need to move that apology is accepted, James, or do we just acknowledge it?
Yes, Chair.
Could I have somebody move that we accept the apologies?
I'm happy to.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that? Thanks, Pete. That's great. All those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Point 3, are there any amendments to the agenda? No. Can I have a mover for the agenda to be accepted, please?
Happy to move. Kathy.
Thank you, Councillor White. And seconder, thank you, Councillor Williamson. Those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Are there any disclosures of interest to be noted? I don't see any there. Thank you. Okay. We now have the confirmation of minutes. Can I have a mover that we accept the minutes as a true and correct record? Thank you. And a seconder? Thanks, John. Those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Okay, and then we have an update on the review of the Lake Taupō Protection Project. And we have got Neville or Marley to present to us there.
I'm here to present the report. Thanks, Madam Chair. Look, I'll take the report as read. It is a topic that's been discussed on a number of occasions now and has wound its way through the process of consideration and approval by the Taupō District Council and Regional Council. So the report is provided to update you on the next steps and how we're progressing. The terms of reference for the agreed 3 parties who we're sending or have sent the document out to is attached. It's fairly comprehensive, and as I said already, you've seen them in a previous meeting or previous workshop. I'm not sure how you define that. And the membership of the working party consists of representatives from the Crown, TDC, Waikato Regional Council, and Tū Whare Tō Māori Trust Board. I'm not sure if the Tū Whare Tō Māori Trust Board representative on the working party has been finalised at this stage, but that matter is being considered or agreed with Mali Hipene, who is discussing and confirming the arrangements for membership. The timeline is in the report. We are adhering to that and tracking as we would think we should be at this stage. There's no issues to the best of my knowledge that have come forward so far. We're still waiting for the providers to come back with their proposals. So those will then be considered by the working group, and that process will then be agreed, and the joint committee will be updated. There will also be updates provided to the trust on the recommendation or the recommended provider as well. I'm happy to take questions.
Kia ora, thank you, Neville. Are there any questions that anyone has there for Neville? Councillor White.
Yeah, thanks, Neville. I just had a a question in terms of the information that's being provided, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I just didn't see in the brief of what was provided. Have we actually told? Are we telling the reviewer exactly what's happened in terms of funding? So what I mean by that is that the Crown is no longer funding the project and that it's WRC and TDC jointly funding through rates. Are we providing that information?
So it does say in the report that the funding has ceased. I can't exactly find the appropriate section of the report, but it does say that the 79.2 public fund was was provided, and no additional funding is being provided. It does say that somewhere in the report, is my understanding. The detail will come out in the consultation and engagement that the provider has with the parties. So they will be probing all of those things in terms of prior funding, current funding arrangements, future funding arrangements. So all of those will come through as part of their due diligence on the process, and will underpin their recommendations, no doubt, that come forward from the process, from their investigation. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. I just wanted to make sure that at some stage that that detail would be provided, so that they do understand that in this new phase of the project that the funding arrangements have changed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lorena, are you wanting to reply to that, or it's not? No. Okay. Councillor Williamson had his hand up next, and then we'll come to you. Councillor Williamson.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Naturally, obviously, time is of the essence with this review, and I know, Neville, that this regards as a medium degree of significance, and September being really just before the election, there's no implication there, is it, making a decision that close to an election? I know, as I do appreciate, as I say, time is of the essence anyway, but so there's no issue there with that, making the...
It's a really good question. My advice is that council can still, or the settlers are still in a position to make that decision collectively, but obviously in their own right, in that period prior to the election. I will confirm that, because that is a really good question, but that is my understanding that they do have the authority to make that decision, and I understand the significance of the issue.
Thanks, Neville. It would be quite appropriate anyway for it to be made by the current tenure, but this one to raise it anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Lorena, am I seeing your hand up there correctly? Yes.
Kia ora. Thank you for that and sending through the review. I just wanted to, I was referring to the scope, and it's great that in terms of what you've got there, I suppose when you engage with the three groups, I think there's two components, and the primary component is around the review post that, what that means post June 2023, and under para 31.3, we had agreed at the last meeting to look more broadly in terms of the role of the trust beyond this particular program of work. I think that's still important, as I mentioned previously, but I think it's a secondary consideration. The primary consideration has to be about the review, and the secondary consideration is in then the broader scope of the trust and taking on other functions, and it might be an option that they talk about. But I just think, in terms of the perspectives of how they present it, they need to present it in a way that that is taken in, that primary consideration is around what we're doing with the review and the transitioning through based on their recommendations.
I agree with that, and I do understand that the Joint Committee was seeking to see if there was future opportunities for the current trust, but notwithstanding that requirement, the primary one is what are we doing with the current arrangement, and a nice to have almost recommendations and suggestions back from the reviewer on what options may exist for the trust should they be recommended not to continue to perform the function. There's also, I guess, a matter of the fund that that still exists, and I guess we're going to look at the financials later on in the meeting from the trust, which show a significant amount of cash in that corner. So that will be something for the settlers to determine in terms of where that goes. But I understand the question and the prioritisation of the process.
Thank you. And just two other points. I think in terms of the options that they do come back with, it's also important that we have visibility or an understanding of other considerations that we might not be aware of in terms of the transitioning, which funding is one of them, but any other considerations that we might need to take into account. I'd hope that as part of the transitioning action plan, for want of a better word, that would come up as well.
I think that's in scope. When I reflect back on the terms of reference, I think that is scope in that is in the scope in terms of the reviewing authority giving us recommendations about how that transition might occur. There is decision still to be made should that be required on who would be the receiving body, and a decision to be made there, and then arrangements for how that transfers over. And particularly, I think there's some complexity in regard to the NRDAs and what might be in them, and the novation of those NRDAs, which will be undertaken by the trust prior to whoever the receiving body may be, being able to do due diligence on those matters and be able to receive them without any break in continuity or degradation of the integrity of that process.
Great. And I've just got one final point, sorry, just in terms of the potential risks, and we've got in there legislative reform, treaty settlement legislation. Will it, and I don't know if it's in scope or not, and there may be other work that I'm not aware of, but given the role of Te Whare Toa Trust and then the other settlement arrangements that are in place, just the impact of what that might have in terms of this process going forward as well.
Yes, and those can't be underestimated. They're significant in terms of, I guess, the opportunity. Either one of those, obviously, they're all under the broad umbrella of Ngāti Te Whare Toa, but they are separate entities in terms of structure. And the opportunity is there. Uncertain how that process would be managed well at this stage. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the question, people. That's all right. I want to put forward the motion, please, as I don't see any other hands up there. That the report update on the review of the Lake Taupō Protection Project 16 May 2022 be received. Can I have somebody move that, please? Thanks, Lorena. Seconded by.
Happy to move, Madam Chair.
Seconded by Councillor Williams.
Second, sorry. Yeah.
Those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. The next item that we have before us is the Lake Taupō Protection Trust 6 monthly reporting requirements, and either Clayton or Marion will present the report.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to talk to that item. Thank you. I also will present that report and take it as read. Happy to take any questions. Just as an update, you'll note at point 10 that there was some commentary about the audit, which has been inordinately late this year. It is currently underway, and we are meeting via video link with the auditor on Friday of next week. to hopefully conclude that process.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments that anyone would like to make?
Well, Madam Chair, thanks, Clayton. I just note in the reporting the TDC contribution $223,883. I'm just jumping to the next year budget. You've got, it's obviously probably a timing issue with the in the budget 193,944, 30k difference. So I presume it's just a timing thing with the financial year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. So I would like to move that the report, sorry, can I have somebody please move that the report, the 6-monthly report of the Lake Taupō Protection Trust reporting requirements 4th of March 2022 to be received. Should I put all of this together, James? The 3 points or separately?
Chair, yeah, you're voting on all of them at once.
Okay, so sorry, the next is point 2, that the report, Lake Taupō Protection Trust 6-monthly report on trust operations, together with financial statements for the period ending 31 December 2021, 4 March 2022 be received, and that the updated cash flow projection as at 31 December 2021, March 2022 be received. Can I have somebody move that, please? Thank you, Lorena. Seconder.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor White. Those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Next item is the Lake Taupō Protection Trust budget financial year ended 30 June 2022. Is that Clayton is going to present?
Madam Chair, thank you again. I'll take the item as read. Probably just highlight the addendum page on 41 regarding wind-up cost. The legal and accounting figures that we have had indicative responses from our suppliers about. There is a significant figure in there of $250,000, which we have been told is appropriate because there are a lot of unknowns around the winding up of that is what does eventuate. But otherwise, happy to take any questions on the budget as presented.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Thank you, Lorena.
Just a query, the budgets for the period for 30th of June 2022.
Correct.
So shouldn't the wind-up costs be carried into 2023 as opposed to 2022?
Madam Chair, can I comment on that? It's Marion.
Thanks, Marion. That would be appreciated.
Yeah, so first and foremost, the budget for year end 30 June 2022 is presented late, and that's because of working through the proposed draft service level agreement and whether or not there were going to be any costs flow through into that. Ordinarily, this budget would have been presented to you last calendar year. We will certainly carry the wind-up costs through into the incoming year's budget.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments there? Okay, we have to resolve that the report of the Lake Taupō Protection Trust budget financial year ended 30 June 2022, 24 February 2022 be received, and that the budget for the year ended 30 June 2022, 24 February 22 be received. Can I have somebody move that, please? Thanks, Lorena. Seconded.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor White. Those in favour? Anyone against?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Moving forward to the reporting requirements for the Lake Taupō Protection Trust Statement of Intent. Clayton is going to present on that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As outlined in the report, this is a little bit pro forma, already having been presented to the Joint Committee previously and commentary invited. We have had none, so we are presenting the report now for its formal adoption, which is part of our compliance requirements.
Any questions or comments there? No. So we now need to resolve that the reporting requirements for the Lake Taupō Protection Trust Statement of Intent dated 11 May 2022 received, that the final version of the Trust Statement of Intent for the financial year ending 30 June 2023 be received. Can I have somebody move that, please?
Yeah, double A's.
Happy to move, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson, and seconded by Lorena. Those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Trustee Remuneration for the financial year ending 30th June 2023. And Clayton is.
Madam Chair, yes.
Thank you.
Again, we'll take the item as read. The proposal is that the remuneration levels remain as they have been for some years now. And as noted, we benchmark that recommendation from the Cabinet Office circular on fees framework. So again, happy to take any questions or comments.
Any questions or comments there? We need to resolve that the report Trustee Remuneration for the year ending 30 June 2023 be received, that the committee endorses trustees' remuneration for the financial year ending 30 June 2023 at the following rates. Chairman Trustee, 22,000 base salary per annum, plus reimbursements of actual and reasonable travel, meal and accommodation expenses for each meeting attended. Trustee, 13,000 base salary per annum, plus reimbursement of actual and reasonable travel, meal and accommodation expenses for each meeting attended. Mileage rate to be maintained at 82 cents per kilometre. If Inland Revenue Department releases a higher mileage rate during the 22-23 financial year, the mileage rate to be adjusted to reflect the change. Could I have somebody move that, please? Thank you, Lorena. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. We now move to excluding the public. Could I have somebody move, please, that we move to exclude the public? Can I have somebody move that, please?
Happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor White. Seconded by. Thank you, Lorena. Those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. James, are you able to notify us when the appropriate action's being taken on the online channel?
Yeah, we just need to pause real quick the recording, remove any public guests, and then we can start back up in just a moment.
Thank you.